Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Social Minds, and this is the third video of the chapter Mughal Empire. In the previous two videos, I have explained the military expeditions that were taken by the Mughal emperors and the tradition of succession and the Mughals' relation with the other rulers. Now, the topic of the today's video is administration under Mughals. Now let's begin with Mansabdari system. Before Mansabdari system, it's essential to know who were Mansabdars. Now, Mansabdars were those people who joined the Mughal service, or we can say those who joined Mughal service were appointed as Mansabdars. And the term Mansabdars refers to an individual who holds a mansab. Mansab word से ही क्या बना है mansabdars, and from mansabdar the system we got mansabdari system. Now mansab means a position or rank. It means that the term mansabdars refers to an individual who holds a position or rank. It was a grading system. And these mansabs were appointed from diverse background, means from different background. For example, from the Turkish, from Iran, and from Rajput, from Marathas, from Muslims, so from so many different backgrounds. Because with the expansion of the Mughal Empire, the Mughals need to recruit, need to appoint diverse bodies of people so that they could be able to rule over the entire subcontinent. That's why they appointed the mansabs from the different backgrounds. Now, Mansabdari system. First of all, Mansabdari system was a grading system which was used by the Mughals to fix rank, salary and military responsibility. And under Mansabdari system, every Mansabdar had a fixed rank, salary and fixed military responsibilities. Now, this rank and salary were fixed to a numerical value called Jat. And the higher the Jat, the higher noble's position and salary. For example, if any noble had a Jat of 5,000, then his position, his rank, his salary was higher than that of the noble whose rank was 1,000. क्लियर. सो जितना ज़्यादा रैंक होगा उतनी ही स्ट्रॉन्ग पोजीशन, उतनी ही सैलरी, हाई सैलरी एंड द मोर मिलिट्री रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज़. And in Akbar reign, there were 29 mansabdars with a rank of 5,000 jat. This 5,000 numerical value was the highest value in Mughal Empire. So in Akbar time period, only 29 mansabdars were there, which rose to 79 during Aurangzeb time period. Now, when the number of mansabdars were increased, it created problems also. Now, what kind of problem? See, since the Aurangzeb had large number of mansabdars, so due to this, mansabdars had to wait for a long time before they received a jagir. A jagir was a land from where the mansabdars could collected the taxes. Now, when the number of mansabdars were increased, the another problem was that the actual revenue collected from Jagir was less than the calculated revenue or the calculated sum. Means the estimated was done by the Mughal emperors, or you can say the revenue department, that this amount of the revenue should be expected from that Jagir, but the amount was less due to the increased number of mansabdars. And due to this, Mansabdar started collecting taxes as much as possible. And for this, they started cheating the people, and due to this, the emperors were not able to control this land. And during the Aurangzeb rule, the peasants, the small farmers suffered a lot. Now, functions of Mansabdars. Every Mansabdar was required to maintain a specific number of Sawar. Sawar here means foot soldiers, or cavalry men, means good Sawar, horse riders, to increase the military strength of the ruler. Every Mansabdar received a land which was called a Jagir, and from which they could collect the revenue. Mansabdars did not reside or administer their Jagir, means they never resided in their allotted Jagir, or they were not responsible for the maintenance of law and order in their Jagir, and meanwhile they served in some other part of the country. Then why this land was given to the Mansabdar if they could not reside there, if they could not administer their Jagir, then why the land was given to them? Now this land was given to them so that they could collect revenue, because this Jagir was actually the revenue assignment for them. So from this revenue they will pay to their soldiers, and this revenue will also be their salary. And these Jagirs were carefully assessed so that their revenues were roughly equal to the salary of the Mansabdar. That means it should not be the tax amount should not be more than the salary or less than the salary. The revenue amount should be roughly equally to the salary of the Mansabdar. Now, the next one we have Zamidars. Zamidar. Zamidar, this word actually in a layman language, this word we can use that landlord. And Mughals used the term zamidars to describe all the intermediaries, middlemen, whether they were local headmen of the village, चाहे वो simple village का headman हो, मुखिया हो, or a powerful chieftain. So this kind of people could be treated as the middlemen, and their function was to collect taxes from peasants and submit the same to the central government revenue department. So in this flowchart you can see that peasant was the small unit of people from whom the zamidar could collect the taxes, and then zamidar was responsible to deposit that revenue to the Mughal revenue department. So zamidars were simply the middlemen. Now, Japt system. Children, Akbar had a very knowledgeable revenue minister, or a finance minister we can say, named Todermal. Todermal carried out a careful survey of crop yield and crop production for a period of 10 years. and on the basis of this data that he collected, tax was fixed for each crop in cash. According to this Japt system, the entire area was divided into revenue circle. Each revenue circle had its own set of revenue rates, and these rates were different for different crops. For example, suppose there are two areas named A and B, and in both the areas wheat is grown. So, according to this system, it is possible that both the areas will have different tax. Place A could have more tax and place B could have less tax. And this is because this is depending upon the amount of the production and the quality of the production. Now, suppose if in both the places two crops are grown simultaneously. So according to this system, it is possible that both the crops have different tax rate. Suppose that in A field wheat and rice is grown simultaneously. So on the wheat the different tax could be there, and on the rice the different tax could be there. So this was the Japt system, which was totally dependent upon the quality of production and the amount of production. Clear? Now the next one we have Subedar and Suba. Abul Fazl in his book Akbarnama explained that the Mughal Empire was divided into various provinces or areas called as Subas. Means this Subas word is nothing, it is just the name given to the province, given to the different areas. And these Subas were governed by a Subedar, or we can say the governor, who carried out both political and military functions. Like in the Delhi Sultanate, the Mukti was there, who carried out the political and military function, and this Subadar also performed same kind of function. But in Mughal Empire, the Subedar did not work all alone. He was supported by many other officers for the maintenance of law and order, or we can say for the maintenance of peace and order. For example, this is the list of the different officers who worked with the Subedar in Mughal Empire. The first one we have Diwan, who was financial officer, or Diwan. In Persian language it's called Diwan. Bakshi was the military paymaster who gave salary to the soldiers or to the military people. Then Sadar was the minister who had the responsibility of religious work and who maintained the charitable patronage related to the religion. Then Fauzdar was the military commander, and Kotwal was the town police commander. So Subedar was assisted by these different officers, and togetherly they were responsible for the maintenance of law and order in the Suba, or we can say in the province. Now we used three words: Iqtidar. In this third chapter in Delhi Sultanate we have done this. Then Mansabdar and Subedar, and these three different people have the responsibilities of collecting the taxes and maintaining the military services also. So do you find these words confusing? Yes, of course, because these words have similar meaning. So let's find out the similarities and differences between these three terms. Now, in Delhi Sultanate and Mughal Empire, the first one we have the land. In Delhi Sultanate, land was called as Ikta, whereas in Mughal Empire, two words were used for the land, Suba and Jagir. Governor of the land. In Delhi Sultanate, the governor of the land was Iqtadar or Mukti, means the holder of the land. And here, the governor of the land or the holder of the land was called Mansabdar or Jagirdars, means when the revenue assignment was given to the Mansabdar, then the land was called Jagir. And when the Subedars ruled over their particular province, then then that person was called, that land was called as Suba and the person was called as Subedar. Now the function. Here the function of the Iqtadars. Now Iqtadar was responsible for collecting taxes from their Iqta because that was treated as their salary also. Then this Iqtadar was responsible for administered Iqta, means responsible for maintaining law and order in Iqta. Then also he had to pay salaries to soldiers from the taxes which they collected from the Iqta. But in Mughal Empire, we have two different personalities here. First one we have Mansabdar. Now Mansabdar collected taxes from their Jagirs as their salary, as their revenue assignment, and from that collected revenue they had to pay salaries to soldiers also. But Subedar was governor of his Suba, so he governed the provinces. So he was assigning the responsibility of maintaining peace and order in the Suba. And also he need to maintain the military support also. He need to maintain a number of soldiers or a number of cavalrymen so that he could provide support to the king. So same as with the Iqta. Now the residence. Here Iqtadar in Delhi Sultanate, Iqtadar lived inside the Iqta which they ruled. जिस इक्तादार को जो भी इक्ता मिलेगा वो उसी एरिया में रहेगा और वो उसे रूल करेगा. बट हेयर मनसबदार did not live in their Jagir. This was the main difference between the Mansabdars and Subedars, that Mansabdars did not reside in their Jagir. They served in some other part of the country or some other part of the Indian subcontinent. From their Jagir only they collected the taxes. They could not reside there. But सूबेदार्स लिव्ड इन देयर सूबा. वो अपने ही एरिया में रहते थे. दैट्स वाई दे हैड द ड्यूटी फॉर द मेंटेनेंस ऑफ लॉ एंड ऑर्डर. नाउ अकबरनामा एंड एने अकबरी. Abul Fazl, he was a close friend of Akbar and even a courtier, means he served in the Akbar's court also, and he was assigned with the responsibility of writing the history of Akbar rule. So he wrote Akbarnama. This book was written by Abul Fazl, Akbarnama, and it was 3-volume history of Akbar rule. So this Akbarnama had 3 volumes. In volume 1, which dealt with Akbar ancestors, अकबर के 4 फादर्स की रूलिंग के बारे में, उनके ट्रेडिशंस के बारे में, एवरीथिंग वाज mentioned in volume 1. Then in volume 2, this volume 2 recorded the events of Akbar reign, means whatever the military expeditions or the military campaigns or the events were taken out by Akbar, that are available in volume 2. And this volume 3 It is the N.A. Akbari. The special name was given to this volume 3, N.A. Akbari, and it deals with Akbar administration, household, army, the revenue system, the geography of his empire, tradition and culture of the people living in India, and the statistical details about crops, the types of the crop, yields means the production of the crops, and the prices of the essential commodities, wages, the salaries given to the soldiers or to the mansabdars, and the entire revenue system. So this N.A. Akbari was the detailed account of Akbar time period. Akbar was known as Great Akbar, not just because that he extended his empire. Rather, he was famous for his religious policy. So let's discuss the religious policy which was started by Akbar. When Akbar was at Fatehpur Sikri during the 1570s, he started discussion on religion with the ulema, Brahmins, Jesus priests were Roman Catholics, and Zoroastrians. And these discussions took place in Ibadat Khana. Ibadat Khana was a special hall in the court of Akbar where only religious talks were held among these top religious scholars and Akbar. And when the religious talks or the discussions were going on, Akbar realized that religious scholars emphasized on rituals and dogmas. Means these religious scholars were in favor of dogmas. Now, dogma means any statement or any instruction, authoritative instruction, and these top religious scholars issued these statements with the expectation that it would be followed without question. Means कोई भी religious instruction, if it's given by the religious scholar, that should be followed by the people without any question. And such religious scholars were called bigots. Bigots means the people, the person who is intolerant towards another religion. Means if the person is belonging to his own religion, any religion, and the same person if is intolerant towards another religion, then that person is called bigot. So Akbar realized that the teachings which were given by these religious scholars created division and disharmony among subjects, means among people. So Akbar wanted a new religion which established the universal peace. So he developed the idea of Sulh-e-Kul. This was the name of the new religion, or you can say the policy towards the religion, which emphasized on universal peace. और इसी सुलह-कुल को दीन इलाही भी बोला जाता है, a new religion which could be followed by the people belonging to any religion. And this Sulh-e-Kul, this was based on tolerance and focused on honesty, justice and peace. And Abul Fazl helped Akbar in framing a vision of governors around this idea. Means Akbar wanted such a society where the people followed honesty, justice and peace. So this is all about the chapter Mughal Empire, and stay tuned for the next video. Till then, keep learning, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe my channel. Thank you. Have a nice day.